Hartford, good morning. Can you hear me all right? Is it good? Good. All right. So, thank you to Reverend Chris for this invitation. I'm so excited to be here. I love this community. I love the center. I love being here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And let me just address those of you joining us online. If you're in the area at all, come on in. What is it that Kirk said today? Spiritual sanctuary? What was the word you used? Spiritual sanctuary. This is a place where your heart can rest, where it can open, where it can express, where it can be seen and also to see others. So come on in. We love you, we bless you, and of course we appreciate you. So I'm so excited to be here today. Through the magic of social media, last year I connected with an old friend. This was a fellow we met in junior high school. We stayed friends all the way through high school. Even though we went to separate colleges, we stayed in touch. We would see each other, we had fun, we would work out together, we did double dates together, we protested Vietnam together, right? So we were buddies, we were tight. Well, life happens. He ended up going to California. I went to Central America. We lost contact. But last year we connected once again and we started talking. Well, you remember, of course, that last year was an election year. And so it did not take us long to determine that we were in opposite political camps. And we realized in a short amount of time that we were not going to convince the other of our point of view. And so we decided that we better not talk about politics. And to me, this was sad. This was hurtful. I mean, this was a buddy. We were on the same page. And now there was a topic that was off limits. And this bothers me. And of course, this is what I'm perceiving. Not only our country, but our world seems to be going through. A lot of separation. A lot of people getting into their own camps and looking at the other and deciding this person is really off base. Really, they don't really know what's going on here. A lot of separation and creating what I'm going to call today the bad other. They don't have the point of view that we like. We don't like what they do. We don't like the way they show up. We don't like their intention. We don't like their words. We don't like the way they act. And so we create this bad other within us. And as we face this world and the people around us, we generate anger, judgment, condemnation, aversion. We want to push them away. And then, of course, since January, we've been inundated with a flood of news. And, it got to be so much for me. It really affected me. I felt that it was kind of pushing me down. And my head was swimming. My heart was hurting. And I asked myself, what could I do? What should I do in the midst of this turmoil? My first instinct, put your head in the sand. Turn off your cell phone. Don't watch the news. Don't talk to people about politics. Just stay in your lane, show up, do your thing, and go home. Well, I'm in the world. I can't put my head in the sand. I need to be present to what is. But it was very difficult because of the weight of all of this change and motion and separation and comments and opinions. And I said to myself, I need a spiritual solution. I want to be in the world, but I want to have the spiritual answer because none of the other answers were making any sense. There was no way I'm going to convince somebody else who doesn't agree with me to my point of view. And in fact, what's the point? So I needed a spiritual solution. And when you ask yourself that question, it sounds sometimes a little complicated. My first thought is, well, let me research. Can you believe this? Let me research what a good spiritual solution might be here. I'm 70 years old. I've been praying for the majority of my life. And I'm researching what is a good spiritual solution, okay? What's the answer? Love, prayer. It's not difficult. What is difficult is getting there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how when we perceive something that we don't like, that pushes our buttons, that creates that sense of separation, when anger surges, judgment, condemnation, and aversion, the pushing away, what do? Because we realize that with anger, with anger, we get armed. We get armed. Our body gets denser. And when we're armed, we're looking to do some damage. Right? We could say we're armed and dangerous. So how do we go about disarming ourselves? How do we choose love? And ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is the greatest need of our time right now. I believe it's the greatest need that all of us have, and we need to work it. Let me share some quotes. L.R. Nost. Do not dismay about the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, love unconditionally. The broken world waits in the darkness for the light that you are. The broken world waits in the darkness for the light that you are. What is the spiritual solution? You perceive the darkness, you take the light into the darkness. For no matter how dark it is, we remember that the light is always there. And what was it that Nisi sang today? The heart afraid of breaking will never learn to dance. The dream afraid of waking will never take a chance. The soul afraid of dying never learns to live. So what we're talking about today is courageous love. Bill Hook says, the moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others. Choosing love brings freedom, allows us to relax, to open up, to be who we are in a world full of opposition, separation, conflict. And Dorothy Postal Wade gives us a vision. I love this vision. Create a clearing in the dense forest of your life. Create a clearing in the dense forest of your life, because that's what it felt like. All this stuff coming at us, it was like creating a dense forest in which the light was not coming in. This is why I was so confused. I need a spiritual solution. Where do I find it? Where do I go? What do I do? It's a dense forest. There's no light here. Oh my God. So she says, create a clearing. In other words, do some sawing. Fell some trees. Create a clearing in that darkness so that the light can come in, and so that you can take this light with you to where it needs to go. So I talked about bad others. Let me be a little vulnerable this morning and share with you some bad others in my life, okay? So we get grounded in something personal here. So I talked to you about politics. There we go. Now, I work as a chaplain in healthcare in Manhattan. And in addition to my chaplaincy duties, I support interns who want to become chaplains with their training program. Recently, I had my first interview with a new intern who has been in the chaplaincy program for a year. And he was in Staten Island, so I never really met him. Now they moved him to Manhattan, and I have the opportunity to work with him. So in my first meeting with him, I figure this guy's pretty advanced, So I start seeing his level of connection, his emotional intelligence, and I ask him, can you identify a negative emotion inside of you? He says, no. No. Lord have mercy. A chaplain? 1 year of training? And can't find within him a negative emotion? Who is this guy? Judgment, anger, condemnation. Another one of my ministries is as a wedding officiant. The other day I went to a wedding. Before the wedding, I had talked to the bride. I said, are we going to start on time? Because I have another commitment that I need to drive to. We're supposed to be there at 4 p.m. She says, oh yeah, we're going to be right on time because my son, who's giving me away, has another commitment at 5. So he needs to leave at 5, so we need to start right at 4 o'clock. Great. So 4 o'clock comes and goes. She says to me, I really need to wait for my son because he's the one giving me away. I said, all right. 4:45, the guy shows up. I'm doing the wedding, staying in my heart, blessing this couple. We're 15 minutes into the ceremony. The son stands up and walks out. Before I even pronounce his mother and her new husband and wife. Now, was I angry? Was I judging? Was I condemning? You better believe it. This guy made me late and he goes to be on time. Forget about it. Yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in a public restroom. Suddenly this huge pounding on the door. Boom, 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 boom. I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody has a physical emergency. I need to get out of here. So, I get out. I'm thinking, oh God, somebody needs the restroom bad. And this guy walks in like he owns the place. I look at him and I say, what's the matter with you? Where do you get off pounding on the door like that? Was I angry? You bet. Was I judging? You bet. Was I condemning? You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, this happens all the time. Big things, little things, we're constantly falling from grace, from the light, from seeing the Christ within each other into anger and judgment and condemnation. At least that's true for me. Now, what happens when we do that? Not only do we create a bad other, create separation, distance, we get into our own camp, right? But we're also separating from ourselves. Little piece of our heart gets placed aside, right? And so not only are we not bringing our light to the world, but we're also separating ourselves from that light that we are. We're creating that separation within ourselves, and you know what? This hurts. Maybe we're not so conscious of it because we're doing it so often, at least I am. We do it so often that we sort of write it off. But it hurts. If you really take the time to feel what's happening when you're pushing someone away, when you're judging, condemning, and angry, it hurts. Sometimes as a chaplain, when I meet with somebody, I say, where does it hurt? Not talking about their body, talking about their heart. Where does it hurt? And if you ask yourself the question, when you're feeling angry, where does it hurt? You'll sense it within yourself. So when we're angry, like I say, we're armed and we're dangerous. We want to stomp on somebody. We want to shake on somebody. We want to scream at somebody. We want them to wake up and see the error of their ways. We want them to come into the light. And we're ready to attack. You know when that guy walked out of the bathroom? what I said to him was an attack. Where do you get off? What's the matter with you? It was an attack. Now, if I'd said what I was really thinking, it would have sounded a lot worse, right? But I was attacking him. I may not hit him, I may not shoot him, but when I have the intention of changing him, of not accepting him, of an aversion, I'm attacking. And you know what? We're in unity. Let there be peace on earth. And let it begin with me. Yeah. But I'm attacking. And like I say, it hurts us. It hurts our very heart. Now, here's the truth bomb for today, okay? Joseph Goldstein. Don't waste your suffering. Don't waste your suffering. Take that phrase, put it in your pocket, take it home. Review it later today and carry it this week. Don't waste your suffering. What am I saying? I'm saying that when we're suffering, when it hurts, there's an opportunity, there's a red flag, there's a call, ladies and gentlemen. We're perceiving the darkness and we're asked to move forward on the spiritual solution, which is to what? To bring in light into the darkness. And so we have to recognize that our awakening is coming through our suffering. That's the call. That's the place where we're asked to do our spiritual work. Okay? So if you're like me, maybe feeling overwhelmed, it's too much, the dark forest is all around me, we're called to do our work. Now, in choosing love, there's actually two parts that are very important. The first part is to recognize that attack consciousness, that anger consciousness, that wanting to stomp somebody or shake somebody or slap somebody. And then to find the tenderness, the love, right, to make that shift. But the second part, and this is why I'm calling this message today Courageous Love, is to take some action. But it needs to be action that is in protection of the vulnerable. The action that we take needs to come from love. It needs to be an expression of love. To do that, we need to first be in that tenderness, that openness of love, and then to summon up the courage to speak our truth, to do what needs to be done. You know, if you had a young daughter or a young son who's getting bullied at school, they come home crying. When they come home crying, your heart bleeds for them. You don't want them to hurt. And maybe you get angry at the bully, right? And maybe your first instinct is, well, I'm going to show them what? And I'm going to go slap somebody upside the head? So what I'm telling you today is, yes, you need to see that. That's the call to come to the light. That's the call to do your prayer work, okay? That's the call, and you need to come into that tenderness. You need to be able to see that bully as a child of God. But that doesn't stop there, because you don't want your daughter or your son to go back to school tomorrow and get bullied again and come home crying again. You need to take some proactive action. You need to do something, and that takes courage. Maybe you confront those bullies. Maybe you talk to their parents. Maybe you talk to the school administration. Maybe you do something, but it needs to be done from an energy of love, and that takes courage to speak your truth in the midst of the darkness. Okay? So let's just do a quick practice. If there's something that angers you right now, judgment, I want you to feel it. Feel how it tenses you. Feel how it brings you to a certain space that's very constricted. And notice how it hurts. It's suffering. But it's a call. It's the beginning. Anger is initiatory. It wakes us up to where it is that we need to work. And so we breathe and we zoom in on that. We give it our attention. And like we did our breathing exercises here this morning, we can breathe into it. We need to come to an acceptance of anger, not to push it away, not to deny it, not to detour away from it, but to accept it and say, okay, thank you for this message. You're welcome in my emotional house. And now let's see what we can do about that. Let's come into love. Because we know the path. We have the intention. Love. Love is the answer. That's the path that we need to walk. Come into acceptance, a softening, an opening. Kindness. I like to put my hand on my heart to help me remember to be in the heart. When we are angry, Eckhart Tolle calls it the waking up of the pain body. Like I say, we get armed and we're dangerous. And Eckhart Tolle says when the pain body within us wakes up, that pain body wants to feed, and it's going to feed on more negativity. It's going to go looking for negativity. It's going to eat that energy, and if it doesn't find it, it's going to create it. And it is only by observation that the pain body will quiet. So here's a story from the Bible, Matthew 15, 21, 28. The Canaanite woman. Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Then a Canaanite woman came from that region, came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not answer her at all. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came, knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed from that moment. Let's do a little metaphysics. What is the woman in the story? The woman in the story is someone who has discovered a demon within her. Well, it was in her daughter, but her daughter's an extension of herself, so she found it an aspect of herself, okay? And to her credit, she's looking for a spiritual solution. She's taken the first step. She's realized there's a demon. Now, any of you discovered a demon inside of you? Okay, you're raising your hand. You don't have to raise your hand, but is there anybody who hasn't discovered a demon? What is a demon? The demon is negative or destructive thought patterns, emotions, and energies. Has anybody not been there? All of us have these demons. The Bible's full of these release of demons. Sometimes we get stuck on that. It's the release of that attack energy. Okay? So this woman discovers this within her. To her credit, she wants a spiritual solution. And she comes to Jesus asking for help. You know, when we ask for help, we get into a humble place. Please help me. What does Jesus say? No. No. I've come for the lost sheep of Israel. Do you think it's right that I take food away from the children and give it to the dog? He's calling her a dog. Yeah, he's calling her a dog. And she replies, "Yes, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall off the table of the master." So metaphysically, what's going on here? Very interesting in our courageous love exploration. First of all, she's looking for a spiritual solution. And Jesus represents the path to love, right? So she comes to him asking for help. But she's doing it in a begging and pleading mode. Lord, have pity on me. In other words, she wants the spiritual solution, but she wants the spiritual solution to be laid on her from outside of her. She wants to be healed by some sort of magic touch. She hasn't done, in other words, her spiritual work. So when she comes and says, help me, Jesus realizes that she hasn't done the spiritual work. Have any of you ever prayed in that begging, pleading, beseeching, oh God, please help me? If you have, maybe there's been an answer, maybe not. But the important question is, are you doing your inner work? If we could take this story in slow motion, we would see that yes, she came to Jesus, pleading, begging, and Jesus says, you're a dog. In slow motion, she takes that message and she says, you know what? I haven't done my work. I haven't come into love myself. I haven't come into acceptance of where I am. I'm expecting something from the outside to come and change this about. But I need to do my work. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And so in slow motion, she does this work. She does the breathing. She opens up. She realizes that love is present. She's bringing light into the darkness. And when she replies, taking courageous love, action, she says, yes, you know what? I may be a dog, but even the dogs receive mercy. And I may not be worthy of it, but I'm open and receptive to it now. That's prayer work. Jesus immediately says, your faith, the work that you've done, has made you well. Can you see that? It's a beautiful story. So let's close today with some practice. I'm going to invite you to choose. Now, we have a whole bunch of world issues, national issues going on. Let's leave those aside for a moment. I believe that the greatest training opportunity we have are the people that are closest to us, the people that we deal with. That's our spiritual training work, okay? So choose an individual. In my case, I'm going to choose that chaplain intern that I told you about, okay? I judged him. I was angry. Like I said, anger is initiatory. When you're angry, it's because you care about something. Something that you love, something that you care about is being threatened. It's being pushed aside. It's not being acknowledged. What is that? Just think for yourself. What is that as you judge people around you? What is it you care about? In my case, I love our chaplaincy program. I want good, effective chaplains in the world to help people heal emotionally and spiritually. And this fellow, by not doing his inner work, was threatening that. That's why I judged him. That's why I got angry. But I can see that. And I can feel it in the body. I always like to begin by recognizing the physical. Take it in. Soften. Maybe you need to move or stretch or do something. Feel the belly particularly. The belly is where we digest life. Soften the belly. You can even put your hand on your belly. Soften the belly. Open yourself to know and understand who you are in truth. With that softening, with that kindness you might show to yourself, there's an opening. You're going to feel it. There's going to be a little shift. That's the tenderness. That's the kindness. That's the first part of love that I'm recommending here today. But there's a second part, the courageous love part. I need to help this individual become a better chaplain. Maybe he didn't have the benefit of the excellent training that I received. Turns out he came from India. And I don't know anything about his background, but I'm guessing that in his formative years, the idea of emotional connection was not a priority. He has no training in this. So I need to show up and to help him. But I need to do it from love and acceptance and seeing him as a brother who has the same intention as I do, that maybe I can help along. So, we soften, we breathe, we remember. Don't waste your suffering. If something hurts, it's a call, ladies and gentlemen, and we have so many calls today. This is why a place like Unity, a sanctuary of spirituality, is so important for us today. Our prayer work is so important for today because that is how we're going to clear a space in the dark forest of our life. We're going to work on eliminating the separation. We're going to recognize anger for what it is. We're going to do our spiritual work to come and find the kindness within, the strength within, the peace within, the oneness within. And then, with courageous love, we're going to go out and practice what that looks like in word, in deed, in intention. Don't waste your suffering. Come into courageous love. God bless you all. Thank you so much.